So what exactly is an off-grid system? Well, here we have the power lines from the power company. Here's your home, and you'll notice that these two are not connected because your home is being powered by a completely independent power system. And this consists of a power source, which could be solar panels or a hydro generator or a wind generator or something like that. And then there's a storage component, which is also very important because inevitably there are going to be times when that power source is not producing enough power to support your needs right at that moment in time. The classic example being a solar system in the middle of the night. Solar panels aren't producing anything at nighttime, and so the batteries in the storage system are what will be powering your house during those times when your power source is producing little or nothing. And so the batteries are a very important part of this whole system because they make sure that you have all the power you need 24 hours a day. With a grid tie system, or sometimes called grid interactive, you have the power lines from the power company, and you have your home, and you have the power source, which is typically solar panels. But in this instance, when your home is requiring more power than those solar panels are producing right at that moment, it simply pulls the extra power from the power company, from the grid. And so the grid effectively becomes your storage or your battery. And then when your solar panels are producing more power than you're using right at that moment, then that power gets sold back to the power company, and it hopefully reduces your monthly power bill. Now, with a typical grid tie system, it does cost less than an off-grid system because you've eliminated the storage component, and also you've eliminated the maintenance that goes along with having a battery bank. There's not a lot of maintenance, but there is some important monthly maintenance that should be done with batteries, and so a grid tie system eliminates that. However, with a typical grid tie system, whenever there's a blackout with the power company, you lose your power. And that's a huge drawback for anyone who's interested in becoming energy independent. The reason for this is that there's safeties built into your grid tie system so that even though those solar panels may be producing power at that moment, when the grid goes down, when there's a blackout, those safeties shut your system down to prevent you from electrocuting a lineman who's trying to get your power back up. So this is an important safety feature with a grid tie system, but it also means that we've just lost the whole point in setting up a renewable energy system, and that's to be energy independent. But there is one tweak that we can do to a grid tie system to remedy that, and that's doing a grid tie system with battery backup. And so basically we just add the storage component into this system. Now, with a grid tie system with battery backup, it should be functional during a blackout. But here's the cost of doing that. It adds back into the equation that battery maintenance that we were trying to get away from with a grid tie system, and then also it adds the cost of those batteries, which means that a grid tie system with battery backup, all other things being equal, is going to cost as much or more than an off-grid system. Plus, you've still got the maintenance, and so when you factor all these things in, I'm thinking, what's the point? It seems to me like you've just done away with much of the selling point for a grid tie system. And so why not just go off the grid? And especially when you consider that with grid tie systems, there's a strong likelihood that because you're interacting with the power company and they want to make sure that your equipment doesn't mess up anything on their end of the system, there's probably going to be some additional red tape, some additional hoops that you have to jump through just because you're interacting with the power company. And also, anytime you have power lines running on your property, you have utility easements. And in addition to that, you still have that monthly power bill. And this is the thing that with a grid tie system, you're never getting rid of that power bill. You're just trying to reduce that power bill. So in my mind, off-grid is what really makes sense if you're looking for energy independence. Now, if all you're looking for is just trying to reduce your monthly power bill, then maybe you want to consider a grid tie system. And there's, other sources for information on grid tie systems. But what we're focusing on here is off-grid systems, because that's what really I believe is the route to go if you want to become energy independent.